doing this is that, we are fortunate that even today we have met. When NEC met in June, it was tough because we did not know what was going to happen. So it could be that a time will come that perhaps we might not even be able to have this opportunity at all. But we still have to run the association. So it is up to us to make sure. I think that online voting has proven to be quite robust. Unless we get to a point where we think that, no, there's too much fraud or something, then we may be able. Otherwise, we should also just cancel it. Michael. Sorry?
In my church?
Yes.
He said the chairman was not by e-voting. But when the COVID came, we adapted. So we can make provision for such situations. You understand? Because if you are going by, a time will come, nobody will want to come here. People will prefer that they want to sit there, and that party that we are experiencing will even be bigger than that. So let's make a provision that in such situations, we will go by e-voting.
Okay. I think I see your point. So we agree that election of officers will happen at AGM. However, in the event that we are unable to meet, in the event that we have to have only delegates meeting, so that people would not say that it's not their word that they are not here, then we can use the e-voting. But apart from that, election of officers shall happen at the AGM. I think it's fair, because we all have the right to come here. All right, so that is fine. Yes, Sylvia.
No decision was made. We just moved on.
Oh. Please, is it that the 5 is too many or the whole idea?
Like you said it's too many.
Okay, maybe 2. Do we agree with 2? Okay, 2 is fine. Yes. At the bank account, I just want to mention something in passing. It mentions in 16.3 that the President, Secretary, and Treasurer shall be the signatories to the account of the association, which is fine. When we look at the other financial policy, something that I want to capture here so that we just have an idea. Sometimes, due to the nature of where we belong to, the institute we belong to, it may be necessary that the President request for funds to carry out some activities. Under normal circumstances, if they are close by, interests are raised by different people. If the President has to raise an interest or request for money, we are suggesting that the approval of that interest should not be done by the Treasurer or the Secretary, but by the zonal president, by virtue of the fact that he's a member of NEC. Please, is that okay? I don't know if it's clear. So, for example, if I need money to do something, but Ephraim is far away for him to raise the interest for the president to approve, and just by the fact that the 3 of us are the signatories, we are saying that if I raise an interest, approval of my interest should not be by the secretary, who is a signatory to the account, but by the zonal president, who is a member of NEC, but not signatory to the account, so that at least he can vet the request. Yes, what I'm saying is that, let me use typical example. So Kwame Odro, Ephraim. No, but it's here. It mentions that, so I just want to mention it, so because we can capture a point here. So Kwame Odro, Ephraim, and Shadrach are the signatories to the accounts. Now, Kwame Odro needs money to carry out some RSA activity. Of course. So if it's not approved, you cannot get money for it. So Kwame Oduro makes the request. Right now, Shadrach can sign, approve it. We write a check, and Kwame Oduro can still sign the check in his name because I am a signatory. So what I'm saying is that what we talked about it and we discussed even with the auditor. And the suggestion is that if Kwame Oduro writes imprest, none of the two signatories should approve the imprest. It should not be approved by them. But a third person who is the president and who is a member of NEC and who doesn't sign is not a signatory to the account. It's just a control mechanism such that if it's not approved, they cannot withdraw the money. Dr. Bekoin.
As a former president, the spending of president. For me, any decision for a spending or to spend actually has to come from the NEC. And so if you are the president and you have realized that there's something that has to be done, your colleagues have to buy into it. And it is that spends. And therefore, you don't initiate it. It is the treasurer or the secretary who initiates it. And then you can sign. Even though you brought the idea, I don't see why it has to go to the local, the zonal. It still has to stay within NEC. Because whatever decision that you agreed as the president, your other colleagues have also bought into it.
No problem.
And so that is the way it is.
NEC
yes.
is made up of the three of us, the two of them, plus the zonal executives.
Yeah.
The danger is that if I raise an imprest, and Ephraim keeps saying no, 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 just an example. And for example, he thinks that he also wants to raise an imprest, and he doesn't want me to say no, 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 no. There is lack of good vetting. And that is why in good practice, if you're a signatory, you should not approve, especially if you yourself is requesting for the money.
But you are not, for me, you are not requesting for it on your private basis.
No, it doesn't matter. You are still requesting.
No,
Otherwise,
because in the office, whenever the director requires something, of course, he wouldn't decide, but he said he has to sign. Even though he's for it, because that's why we have the treasurer and we have the administrator, all of them to vet it. If you will not sign, you can then ask your secretary and then treasurer to sign, then you can stay away.
But the money is, you see, it is internal good control. Somebody who is not a signatory to the account needs to vet it. And the only person who can do that is the zonal president. Yes, please. Please, go on, please.
For transparency, for checking, to make sure that the right thing is done, it is appropriate that we go by the proposals that you are making.
Okay.
I agree with that totally.
Okay, thank you. So, please, should we go ahead with that? Yes. So that if the zonal presidents now know that they need to be approving some of these things, they get closer and work together. Yes, please. Another NEC member can improve.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you for this proposal. But I think in our offices, in line with the Financial Administration Act of Ghana, that is why in our offices we have the internal audit unit to vet all transactions. In line with this, my proposal, or I hold a humble view that instead of asking a zonal president or any other person to do it. In normal, ordinary clubs, they create a position of financial secretary who becomes more or less like as the internal auditor to do it. If you ask a zonal president to check it there, it can be scratch my back, I also scratch your back. And that mischief that we want to cure will still come. And therefore, to cure this issue, if we are doing a constitutional thing, then can we create a position and say that we are having an RSA, somebody as an internal audit, so that if there are audit issues, if there are queries at this meeting with the finances, then we could hold him to task and say that we gave you specific mandate A, B, C, D, and you failed to discharge. Can you address those issues there?
Okay, thank you. In the financial policy, this position is proposed, even though the duties are different. But the part that I disagree with your point is the fact that you cannot scratch the back of the zonal president because he has no recourse to NEC finances. He's not a signatory. He cannot request money from it because he has no. He can do that at the zonal level. So, yes.
You see, maybe you're not getting the point I'm making. Scratch my back, I scratch your back. Let me go to the EC system there, where I use the term, the principal inter pares. Maybe you may be of the same rank there, but once the zonal president is under you, in terms of the RSC hierarchy, for even the normal security chain of command, it is very difficult for, let me put it that way, a subordinate officer to refuse some transactions from a superior officer, more or less the national president. And therefore, to cure that thing, that is why you create a financial position and you ensure that person from the total executive control so that the person has a rule to operate.
Perhaps, you see, as we move on, I get your point. That position is clear. I don't know if we are at that position yet. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President. Somebody asked a question over here. The zonal president, I wanted to suggest that not necessarily the zonal president, but any of the other NEC members who will be available should be able to sign. That's vet the account or something.
Thank you. Please, if we want to go into the issue of if it's not there, we are all scientists that go on track. So at a point in time, some people will not be there. But wait for them. But I really, in the financial distance, is there. That recommendation is coming, but the duties are different. So perhaps when we get there, we'll have a look at it. But for now, we will proceed like that whilst we think about what to do. It's just an internal control mechanism. We know, yes, the president is the spending officer, but because sometimes we are at different institutions, it may be that he needs money to do something. Then we ask the zonal to approve it, and then we move on. So, colleagues, basically, the rest are just a few edits about disputes, about bylaws that the zonals can do, amendment of the Constitution. So, largely, we are done. So the question that I want to ask now, if we make all these amendments, do we take it that we should adopt this Constitution for implementation? Do we agree? Please.
Let's not be in a hurry. Let's really take our time and work on this amendment, complete it, and then come either at a CG to actually adopt it. then we can work with it. Definitely, it's not going to begin. I mean, we're going to go not work just for time. It will move even for time before we start working with this constitution. So let's take.
Mr. Nikwe, thank you. But CG cannot approve this constitution. The AGM will have to approve it, and then give the mandate to CG to see to it that everything is done, and then we move on. If we don't do it now, we have to wait for the next AGM. Because AGM, that is the highest decision-making body, and therefore we want to. Michael.
Something that is missing in our RSA is a registered association. And one day I was looking at our registration list. Now, so directors, people who are no more RSA members are still having their names on the RSA as the directors. But look at see, our constitution doesn't talk anything about who will be directors, because we need to change directors at the where you register it. You understand? Because, but I've seen that the person who is a director on RSA is a retiree. I don't know whether you have observed it.
I haven't, but it's something that we need to look into.
Yes, so it should be captured in the constitution that so will be the directors of RSA. It's just a thing because when I saw it, I was surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. So that mainly is a procedural issue, because whoever's name is captured will one day leave. So we'll find a way of capturing that and see to the procedure. So please, we want to see if we address this issue, we should move ahead to adopt it. Let's show by hand those who agree that we should do that. For adoption, please. Okay. Those who do not agree. Okay, so one. So please, we would go ahead to do that. But now let's have a look at the procedure. We will do the corrections, take the meeting, the document to CG, share it to NEC and CG for CG to check if we have captured everything that we have agreed here. If they okayed it, then we'll move ahead. So the next question is, what should be the implementation date? Is your hand up? Yes, please.
It's not about what you're asking now. I just want you to mention something that was discussed before.
Yes.
It's about forming a quorum. Here, if you look at point 12, article 12.1, it says that at least 1/3 of the members, including no less than 40%, shall form a quorum. And at FORIC, we thought that 40% is too high, because sometimes the attendance may not be that high, and it may mean that we are not forming a quorum.
My understanding that this was a request for an emergency meeting. 12, is it 12.4 you are talking about? Oh, okay, 12.1. Okay, yeah. 1/10. I think so. 40% is huge. Perhaps at this AGM, we might not even be, apart from the fact that it's a delegate. So maybe we can use an absolute figure. Please, do we agree? I think we should reduce the percentage. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Press. I really want us to discuss and agree on the quorum in order to make sure that decisions taken at, say, AGM meeting can survive scrutiny of due process. I'm making this point cognizant of the fact that if the quorum issues are not well addressed and we go ahead and we take a decision, somebody, an aggrieved member, can challenge that decision and it may fall flat. So the 40%, if we think the 40%, which in arriving at that figure, we need to know what the total members of members of RSA in any meeting, in a normal meeting, when we have general AGM, what kind of the attendance, the average attendance, that should be able to guide us to set a very realistic quorum such that we can, any decision taken by an RSA will be deemed to be legally, the meeting will be deemed to be legally constituted, and therefore any decision taken there due to be legally binding on every member.
Thank you. So do you have a suggestion? Yes, please.
I think COVID is real, so please let me hold the microphone for you. Why?
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe the 40% is not needed here. What I see is that for AGM, it is something that has been for everybody to be there. It's not restrictive. And even here, we have made a provision that even when it is restrictive, there's going to be that online, either by Zoom or by whatever means, for the person to also have a means of knowing what is happening. So even if you are counting attendance, even those online, it's assumed that they are also in attendance. So the 40%, it's not needed. At least once we have the 1/3, irrespective of whichever zone that is coming from, it is a representative of the AGM. So I believe that for 1/3, that is all. We should expunge the 40% from it, and that will be it.
So that raises the question whether the 1/3 is from the zones or 1/3 of the members.
We do not classify whether it's from the zone.
Thank
it is
you.
here. That's
So,
the entire membership.
I agree, but like back to what he said. He says that let us look at, on average, the number that come for AGM and the total number of RSA. Roughly, let's say, between 450 and 500 are members, roughly, those that are paying dues that we are deducting. And roughly, between 90 and 120 in the last 5 years have been coming to the AGM. So if you do the calculations, you will notice that we are hovering around between 20-25%. So in the new constitution, it's either we put a figure, 80, 40, or 20%. Sorry? You can't take a decision. It's as simple as that. You cannot take a decision. That is the meaning. And that is why our colleague was saying that let us be careful. So if we say 40 people or 1/3, and the 1/3 happens to be 120, and we come for AGM and we are 115, we will just eat and have discussions. We cannot take a decision. That is the implication. And that is why he's saying that, be careful.
Then let's go for 1/3.
So 1/3 of, that will go more than 150.
Yeah, so based on what you just told us,
yes,
I think 1/3 is still high.
Yes.
So it should be 1/5.
1/5 is 20%, right? Yes, please.
Third, 1/5, or the 20%, we won't have a number which can constitute a quorum to take a decision.
I understand. The danger with members present is also that we could arrange a situation such that 15 people can come and take a decision on our behalf. So, sorry. So, please, I think that over the past 5 years, to survive as an association, 20% will be okay for us. Yeah. Yeah. So the quorum is the minimum number. Please, do we agree 20%? Okay.
If we are just 20 and nobody raises an issue of quorum, we can go ahead and do business.
Okay.
But if somebody raises an issue of quorum, then we should be 20%.
Yes, but that is the issue. You will never know at what point somebody now disagrees with the lines of decision. So if you want to make a decision, we can start dancing, eating, and wait for people to come, and then we move on. Please, Dr. Bequin.
Yes. Yes. The numbers that have been attended here, we've hovered between 8 till over 500. And if you count ourselves, we just about 100. When our numbers are over 500. I will prefer a situation where we say at least 8 or 80 people, or perhaps let's put it this way: 1/5 of the total number of RSA members.
So that is it.
So that at any given point in time, if we get to 1,000, go for 120.
It's the same, 20%.
Yeah.
Please, we will capture that in the revised. So I would like to thank all of you for your contribution. This has been a tiring one, but it's been good for all of us. Please, we are getting closer to the end. We are running out of time, but I would want to move on to the next one. Hello? Hello? In line with what we have discussed today, even the current discussion, as well as what the auditor brought to our attention, when we took over, we felt that looking at how our predecessors have worked, that now our dues are sort of stabilized. And it seems that we are beginning to make excess or surpluses. Then there is a need for sound financial policy to guide the association. So we asked the committee to develop a financial policy for the association. I would want to believe that we have all seen it. Okay, so I would quickly just go over it, not as we have done, but just to tell you what is in this policy. First of all, the objective is to establish a control mechanism to safeguard the financial integrity of the management of RSA and our resources, So we want to establish a safeguard mechanism and also define roles and responsibilities of persons who handle or who deal with RSA funds. So it deals with, in the definition of the rules, it deals with who would authorize requests, who are the signatories to our account, who sign checks, who keeps custody of our books, who does monitoring and what monitoring is. Then the responsibilities of each of these members, the control mechanism, and also the preparation of the accounts. And one of the things that I attempted to do, and I did once, was budgeting. So there is a need for budgeting every financial year that the executives will have to do and get approval from CG before we can spend. They have some suggestions for investment, and they have made suggestions as to how and where we can do investment. And finally, they have suggestions for a financial secretary. Just three short paragraphs. Please permit me to read this to you so that we know what they are saying. The financial secretary position is needed for the accomplishment of the separation of activities performed by the treasurer. The activities performed by the treasurer defeats the canons of control: writing checks, depositing cash, keeping a petty cash, being a signatory to the account. As a function performed by an individual exposes the individual and association to risks. To mitigate this risk, it is necessary to have some clearly defined rules. Again, the financial secretary's rules becomes necessary in keeping proper records by analyzing monthly deductions schedule to make sure each member has been deducted. All approved checks have been written and paid, whilst all receipts have been duly deposited into bank. The financial secretary will act as a gatekeeper over the activities of the finances, whilst his activities are monitored by the treasurer through the bank reconciliations. He shall keep custody of all value books of the association. So that is a short justification for the financial secretary. What it means, and what I think it relates to your point is that he will not be like the internal audit control. He will not be, or she will not be, a signatory to the account, and he or she will be preparing all the details with respect to the account. So, I want to ask for your comment and suggestion as to whether we need to adopt these controls moving forward in handling our accounts. Mr. Nikwe. Yes. For now, yes. The only addition is that he or she will have to be where the treasurer is. It's the same zone where the treasurer is. Yes, please.
in line with maybe section so and so of our constitution, this financial manual is drawing a strength. Secondly, the financial manual must also outline how vouchers are raised and who does all those things. And those functions there could be well articulated and captured as the duties and functions of the financial secretary. In addition, to conclude, I didn't see any issue about procurement. And if you want to look at any issues that where there are corruption risk assessment, it has to deal with procurement. And therefore, the earlier we have a slot that deals and explains what procurement practices are we dealing with, the better it will be for the association. Thank you.
Thank you. We agree with everything that you have said. NEC discussed this extensively. There's a third one that I know you raised the same issue. We asked a committee to develop a development plan for the association. That is not ready. And that stalled because at a point in time, the revised constitution had not taken shape. And so we are afraid that we'll have these different issues. For this one, we agree. And that is why, if you notice, when I was discussing this, Shadrach was saying, have we gone to the financial policy? We know. If members agree to this, that this is good for us to move forward, and that is why we circulated it, we will make a provision in our constitution for it. And that is why we cannot even start the implementation of the constitution, even though it's going to be adopted. We cannot start the implementation now. So that is catered for. The only thing that you mentioned, which is an addition that I think is really, really important, is that we have not catered enough procurement issues. So we may have to have a look at it again. The committee that did this mentioned to us that the raising of payment vouchers and all those things will be an addendum to this one. So this is, if you like, this is the framework to work with, but we need members to agree to it at the AGM that is something that we want to do, then we continue. Otherwise, if we throw it out, we don't have to even waste time on it again. So yes, it's true. If we agree to this now, we would have to make reference to it in the Constitution. The same way with the developmental policy. It's coming, but it needed the Constitution to take shape, and then we will know where to put it. So thank you for that. But not the details to which that he was referring to. So we need to modify it a bit. Members of the committee are here. They are listening, I can see. So please, if you agree that this is something we should pursue, then they can continue to work on it. If not, so do we all agree? And then we would make reference to it in the Constitution so that CG, we are giving the powers to CG to go on, modify it. And let me say that when CG is doing this, they will certainly come back to the institutions to check, because they are supposed to get comments from all of us before we discuss it. So thank you. There's just 1.5 thing left, and then we are done. We know that STEPRI is going to host the AGM for 2021. And they want to make a brief presentation over Zoom. So please, are they ready? Please, are they ready? Please, whilst they are getting ready, then let's do the half business. The half business is that, at this AGM, we know who is hosting next year. So 2022, we need to select someone who should host it. And I want to make a proposal. This year, Soil should have hosted it, but because of the coronavirus, they could not do it, and NEC has to step in to do this delegates meeting. If members would agree, can we give the opportunity to them again to host for 2022? Okay, so 2022, AGM coming back to Northern Zone, it will be hosted by Soil Research Institute. Thank you. Yes, I have it. They are not on. Then I can do it. So then I do. Yeah. Who? The person. You are hosting 2022. Where is it?
Yeah, but I'm still unable to share my screen because I have a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so I can shoot. Yeah, it would have been better to have them see my PowerPoint slides as well. Anyway,
Are you able to share your screen?
yeah, I'm trying to now.
Okay. Which doesn't show, you can speak to it. But you want to come to the screen that you share it. So we need to be able to share the screen. I have. Okay, he says he has allowed you to share your screen.
Okay, so I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so he's doing it. No, he's doing it. He's doing it.
He's about to share his screen.
Just 1 minute.
Apologies for
the mishap. Okay, let's speak to it.
Just hold on, please. Sorry.
a green button. It's a green button.
Oh, okay, good. No, I see, but it's just my computer security system that's not allowing me to do that now.
This computer.
So if you have the copy there, please project the one there on the screen. If you have it there. Okay, all right.
Speak to it before you.
Yeah, sure, I can speak to it. It's just that, for certain things, I would like members to see what I'm speaking to,
Agreed. But maybe you can give the intro once we are getting.
Okay, so once you are at it, I will keep speaking so that by the time I get there, we would have fixed or projected what's on the screen.
Okay, I'm going off the phone.
Okay, hello. Good evening, senior colleagues and colleagues. Sorry about the mishap, but on behalf of STEPRI executives making this presentation. Oh, awesome. My colleague, Rosemary, sharing the screen. That was good. Thank you. And can you make it a full screen, please? Thank you. And well, it has dawned on us, STEPRI, we've taken the baton for our next AGM, the 32nd Annual General Meeting and Conference. And we are proposing, next screen, please. And for our theme for the occasion, we have proposed two options. And I should point out that at this stage, these are proposals for discussion consideration, as well as later for when an in-house committee for the AGM is constituted, for the committee to take on board all these to work with towards the realization of the AGM. Now, first proposal reads as follows, and which is why I wanted us all to see it so that we can all see it, and then whenever there's need to make input. The first proposal reads, the role of STI, Science, Technology, and Innovation, resilient policies and private sector in handling sudden disruptions, lessons learned in the context of COVID-19 pandemic and socioeconomic development in Ghana. Second, we're proposing this theme, enhancing STI impacts through participation in national policy development and implementation. Now, next screen. Now, we have a number of options for the structure of the AGM 2021. And the first option is that we are proposing that on the first day, we'll have arrival and registration of members and participants. And then we'll have a time with our DG. And then we'll have the first meeting for business in the first day. And then on the second day, we'll have the official opening ceremony. And here we'll have time with private sector industry players with a round table discussion of the various sub-teams, but also in particular, how we can work with industry to strengthen the currently existing weak linkage between research and industry. Continuing on day three, on day two, we begin the first part of our conference with the paper presentations. And day 3, we continue with the conference, and then we will have a second meeting of RSA members for business on day 3, and then the last item for day 3 will be a closing ceremony, and then we'll all depart on the 4th day. So this is option 1. Option 2, we're looking at arrival on day 1, registration day 1, and then we'll have a dinner and a networking event in day 1. And day 2, we'll have time with the DG, and then the official opening ceremony, and again, time with industry players, and again, in a roundtable discussion panel form. And then we will have our RS meeting, business meeting, first business meeting on day 2. And on day 3, we'll begin the conference. So in this option, all conference activities will be paper presentations and all of that will be on the 3rd day. And then we'll continue or finish off our business meetings on day 3, and then the closing ceremony with a dinner, day 3. Day 4 is our departure. Next, please. The third option is looking at having a totally virtual event. I'll consider this our present delegates AGM as a hybrid because some of us are joining virtually, some of you are there in Kumasi. But the third option for 2021, in the event that, God forbid, in the event that COVID-19 continues with us, we're looking at having 100% virtual event, in which case we will dedicate day 1 to engage with our DG, and then we'll have an official opening ceremony, and then we'll have time with industry players, again in a roundtable discussion, and then day 2, we will look at RSA business on day 2. Day 3, we will consider conference presentations, and then a closing ceremony. Excuse me. And for our guest speaker, keynote speakers, and so forth, we are contemplating, again, the idea for us is looking at strengthening our linkage with industry. Many a times, the literature, and as well as you participating in meetings and workshops, the expression is that there is a weak linkage currently or presently between research and industry in Ghana, and we need to strengthen that. So for our guest speaker, we're looking at having someone from the industry, private sector industry, come represent as a guest speaker. So we're looking at the AGI president or CEO of a major industry player to be invited. And for our keynote speaker, excuse me, the president of, we're looking at the president or his vice or a minister, the Minister of Environment, Science and Technology representing us. Next, please. In terms of dates and venue, 2 options, we are proposing 2 options for the dates. We are looking at Tuesday, 5th October to Friday, 8th October, 2021. The second option is Tuesday, 19th October to Friday, 22nd October. And the venue, we have 3 options. Well, 2 on the table, but we are still looking for other options, especially if we think that we've been to Kutrak before and it will be a boring place to go to, or if we think that the Presbyterian Women's Center in Abokobi may not meet our needs, we are looking at other venues as well to consider. Next, please. I've already presented the 2 options for the theme. However, for whatever theme that we select, we will be looking at sub-themes that would focus on these 4 areas. 1, food and agriculture; 2, environment, natural resources and energy; 3, industry and ICT; 4, health. Next, please. And in terms of the proposed timeline for preparations and activities towards the scientific conference in particular, we are proposing that we will open call for abstracts in May, on the 3rd of May, 2021, and the call will close on the 21st of July, 2021. By 23rd August 2021, members or external participants who would have indicated their willingness to present papers, who would have submitted abstracts, would have heard from us in terms of whether their abstracts have been accepted for them to go ahead and present their full papers or not by the 23rd of August. And then once that has been communicated, the proposal is that the authors would have submitted the papers or full papers by the 27th of September 2021. And from there, the internal review would take place, and the reviewers would provide comments on the papers by 31st December 2021. No. Okay. I think that this 31st December, actually looking at the post-conference and looking at, how do you call it, submitting the papers for general publication. And we are planning that for those who by post-conference presentation, where they have not found journals, or they are finding difficult identifying appropriate journals to publish their papers, we will help or assist them find suitable journals for publication. The other option as well too is that we will look at the possibility of having a special issue on the conference proceedings to be published in journal in reputable journal articles, and we are considering or exploring these options as a way forward as well. And some of the proposed journals that we are looking at would include the African Journal of Science and Technology, our CSIR journals, and other journals depending on the articles that we receive. And also other various outlets for disseminating research or disseminating our findings would be explored, including our CSIR newsletter as well. Often we are fond of not writing or communicating in language or in formats that can be assimilated by a wider range of public, and therefore we'll encourage some of these articles to be produced in newspaper articles on some of the themes, particularly the second and third sub-themes. We'll have articles in the AGM report in our newsletter. And then also we will encourage, we intend to have radio and TV discussions around the sub-themes and around selected topics that we think that will be very important to contribute to national discourse or national development, and as well as having a conference proceedings published. Next. Now, to do all these things, we are looking at, thank you. We are looking at an estimated budget of 261,880 for 200 people to attend the AGM. And this figure is broken as follows. For accommodation, we are looking at, say, about 200 people attending and being boarded at 160 Ghana cedis per night for 3 nights. And that translates to about 96,000 Ghana cedis. For catering services, the second day and third days, because these are days where we're looking at full square meals. And so here we're looking at 200 people being fed at 100 Ghana cedis per these 2 days, and that translates to 40,000 Ghana cedis. For the first and fourth days, where we are having, we're not going to have square meals because we are having arrivals, people arrive early or arrive late, and then also departures where people will leave after the breakfast. We are looking at 50 Ghana cedis per head of 200 people for 2 days, and that translates to 20,000 Ghana cedis. For rental of conference facilities, we are looking at 5,000 Ghana cedis per day. For 3 days, that is 15,000. For publicity, banners, and other brochures or campaigns, we're looking at 6,000 cedis. Entertainment, we're looking at 3,000 cedis. Stationery, program booklet, we're looking at 15,000 Ghana cedis. Communication, 2,000. Virtual platform in the event that we really have to have the virtual meeting. And also, even if things go such that we need to have virtual participation, we're looking at having being ready for that. And to have that done, we have projected to spend 5,000 Ghana cedis on whatever subscription that we use, whatever amount of data that we'll be spending to host the virtual event. And for our usual souvenirs, we have allocated 120 Ghana cedis per head, assuming that we have 499 people on our roll by then. And this will translate to about 59,880 Ghana cedis. Next. And for the source of revenue, source of funding for this, we are looking at expected maximum from RSA contributions that will yield 299,400 based on the 499 membership. But as well, we are looking at complementing whatever funds that we will be taken from our own coffers, from our own, and I'm looking at all of us, our coffers. We're looking at complementing this, or in some instances, supplementing that with funding from raising funds from corporate organizations, and actually trying to raise funds externally. And as well, we intend to really increase or beat up the event such that we would like to encourage other participants that are non-RSA members, to participate. And in which case, registration for such non-members will be 150 Ghana cedis per person. And therefore, we anticipate that they should yield us some other revenue as well. Next. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for the presentation. So, colleagues.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you. So, we're not going to discuss it, but we are grateful that they have made this presentation. NEC, together with have a look at. We'll have a look at it, and then we'll get the fine details from what they have presented. We'd like to thank you so much for today. It's been wonderful. Finally, I just want to officially say that because we have not adopted our constitution yet, officially we have to request that you renew our mandate, and that is why the election was also on the program. So if you do not have any objection, the executives would want to request that you renew our mandate for the next year. And so that is the final request we want to make. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. We want to end our program for now. Dinner is still available. Then we'll go and listen to the music and help them pack their Aseno away. So we'll see. Please, it's at the nurse's guest house. For those who do not know there, please, you can let me know, and then or others know, and we'll take you there. Many of the Accra people are there, so they know where it is. So we can follow each other. Please ask. And then, so please, just to mention that tomorrow we would like to start the program at 8:15. 8:15, please. Well, thank you so much for staying to the end, and please enjoy your meals.